Break the chains that I let bind me. Heal the pain that lives inside me. Set me free.
Well, welcome back to Swordbox. Yesterday we stated the importance of choosing a Christian friend or friends as our closest, most intimate relationships. And today we will look at the kind of friendships we should have, the qualities we should look for, as well as have ourselves. And certainly, first of all, it needs to be a positive influence. Proverbs 27:17 says, "Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another." Our friends should make us better people, and vice versa. Being able to discuss, even debate spiritual matters with each other, causing us to think and search the Scriptures, seeing their strong qualities that we admire and can learn from, an overall influence on us that is positive and moves us closer to God. Proverbs 27:6 says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend." A true friend can be honest with us, will care enough to rebuke or correct us if need be. They are genuinely concerned about our spiritual walk and not just what they can get out of the relationship. They are willing to risk negative feedback and confront us rather than sitting back and watching us come to harm or even harm others. And that sharpens your life. It makes you better, and that's a friendship quality that honors Christ. Secondly, Christ as being the center. A committed friendship that places Christ as center and Lord of it, well, that's obviously the most important quality. And just because someone claims to be a Christian doesn't mean much if they're not living a Christ-centered life. So we need to look and discern if they are truly following the Lord or not. You know, Jonathan and David in the Old Testament had such a relationship, with God as the one whom they both acknowledged as the one who made the relationship strong and effective, and the one they were each accountable to. Jonathan's father Saul was trying to kill David, who was to become king of Israel in Saul's place. Jonathan did all that he could to protect his friend David from the evil intent of his father. He warned David and sent him away to safety, and as they had to leave one another, we see just how deep of a friendship these two men had and how God was the Lord of it. 1 Samuel 20, verses 41 through 42, and it says, "As soon as the boy had gone, David rose from beside the stone heap and fell on his face to the ground and bowed 3 times. And they kissed one another and wept with one another, David weeping the most. Then Jonathan said to David, 'Go in peace, because we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the Lord, saying, the Lord shall be between you and me, and between my offspring and your offspring forever.' And he rose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city." Is the Lord between you and your closest friends? Are you each committed to Him, making your relationship accountable to Him? So strong was this friendship that because they feared God, they could make a covenant that would extend far beyond just these two men and be a blessing to their offspring. Later we would see how David would keep his promise and show great mercy and kindness to the house of Jonathan. So they were loyal to each other and their families, and God was the one who binded them together. Well, thirdly, I think sacrifice. With Facebook and smartphones, we seem to have more friends than ever before. But just how many of those friends would you sacrifice for? Maybe, perhaps, even die for? I suppose that friendship list would quickly shrink, if not completely disappear. You know, Jesus said in John 15:12 through 13, "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than he lay down his life for his friends." And as we know, that's exactly what Jesus did for you and me. And while we may never have to die for one of our friends, there should be a willingness to sacrifice for each other. Not a selfish relationship, but a selfless relationship. As funny as it may sound, if you really want to find out who among your friends is a real friend, just try moving to the 3rd floor of a 3-story apartment building and ask your friends to help. You might realize you don't have many true friends. And now this, of course, is not a true test, but it's just a silly example. But true friends will sacrifice for each other. It's not just take and take and take. Well, Jonathan risked his life by helping David. Yet he did so in the will of God and did so willingly. He sacrificed for David because it was the right thing to do. It was not the will of God for King Saul to kill David, and God used David's closest friends to protect him. How awesome it is to have a close friend who are willingly following Christ and who we know will sacrifice for us and us for them in order to fulfill the purposes of God in our lives. That's priceless. You know, I've mentioned in past series on Friends the story of the paralytic man in Mark 2, where the friends of a man couldn't walk in and get to Jesus, so they carried this man up to a roof. of a crowded house where Jesus was and lowered their friend down from the ceiling so that he could get to Jesus and be healed. What a beautiful picture of friendship. Doing all that we can and sacrificing for our friends in order to get them closer to Jesus. Well, fourthly, I think friends that are doers of the word. Now, we've already noted that we need true believers of our closest friend. And just to reaffirm and expand on that, Psalm 119:63 says, I am a companion of all who fear you, of those who keep your precepts. As we develop friendships, we get to know more and more about that other person. We get past their walls and their image, and we begin to really know them. Then we must discern if they are really committed to Christ, and it will be clearly evident in whether they are not doers of the word and not simply a hearer of the word. Those who fear God and do his word, these are the ones I should consider. Not that any of us are perfect, we aren't, but we should be moving towards godliness and practicing what we believe. And we live in a culture that focuses more on charisma than on character, on doing what feels right instead of what is right. Image has become more important than reality, and pleasure has taken priority over principle. And as believers, we know that won't do. We must be friends and choose friends of character, doing right, being real, and standing on principle. We may not become overly popular with the world when we do, but we will have the attention of the one whose opinion does matter, and we will be blessed for it. Proverbs 13:6 says, righteousness guards him whose way is blameless, but sin overthrows the wicked. Today, if you're yoked together with unbelievers or even Christians living in sin, if your close relationships are pulling you away from Christ and ruining your good morals, maybe it's time to stop and lay those relationships down at Jesus' feet. Ask God for his direction and courage to do what needs to be done. Remember, when Jesus said, if your right eye causes you to sin, then pluck it out, Jesus was simply saying anything that keeps you from following him needs to go. Whatever it isn't worth more than your soul, or your walk with Christ, or your eternal rewards, or your witness. Make Christ the center of your friendships, and you will be stepping stones in this life and not stumbling blocks. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in here at Swordbox, and we will start a new short series tomorrow. God bless you.